warm welcome to each one of you at our Adtalks program, where we delve into the dynamic trio of data, tech, creativity, while three is not a crowd. I am Balasubramanian, President of Advertising Club Network and National Head for Digital for Kodambakkam, and it is a pleasure to see you such an enthusiastic gathering. In the ever-evolving landscape of advertising, understanding the intricate dance between data, technology and creativity is crucial. Today we are honored to have a digital stalwart, Mr.Karthik Nagarajan, CEO of Hogarth Worldwide, guide us through the fascinating journey. As we have some tea and coffee and embark on this insightful session, let's open our minds to the possibilities that arise when these three forces come together. Karthik brings over 2 decades of experience, and I am sure his wisdom will leave us inspired. I encourage you not only to observe the knowledge shared, but also to engage actively. Feel free to ask questions, share your thoughts, and let's make this session as interactive as possible. Thank you for being here, and without further ado, let's commence the enrichment session. Now, I call upon Mr. Salim, our Secretary and co-founder of Digitally Inspired Media, to introduce today's speaker. Over to you, Suraj.
Thank you, Bala. Good evening, everyone. Very happy to see all of you here on the first Adtalks for 2024. We're going to have many more like this coming your way in 2024. Thank you, Karthik, for taking the time out. I'd like to quickly introduce Karthik to all of you. Karthik is presently the CEO of Hogarth Worldwide, a content experience company and the fastest growing WPP of course. Prior to this, Karthik was the Chief Content Officer at Waymaker and National Head of Content at Group M, India's largest brand communications company. Earlier, Karthik was the country head of Insight, a subsidiary of McKinsey and the Nielsen Company. He also set up and led the Nielsen Company's online division. Karthik was also a business leader in the consulting and technology spaces in the US for over 7 years before returning to India. He is a board member in international organizations like ICOM, Data and Analytics, MMA, and also global startups like Streamline. He is widely quoted in the areas of content, social media, brand, and insights, and writes for most industry publications. Karthik is a well-known podcaster and host of shows like the Filter Coffee Podcast and Voices for Water. He teaches content marketing in top B schools like MICA and is also an independent filmmaker and screenwriter. Thank you, and please give a warm welcome to Karthik. I'd like to call Karthik, our ex-president. Give the bouquet to Karthik.
Welcome.
Thank you, Karthik.
Delay to the presentation. Sometimes the projector, sometimes the audio is always like a thing. But thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be part of the Madras Adtalks event. Very personal for me because after spending about 12-13 years in the industry, this is the first year that I'm actually living in Chennai. I moved to Chennai from Delhi last year, as some of you know. So very, very kicked to be here. And I was just telling Bala that we have to do a quick event like this in Bombay. Either you have to do it around 9:30 so that everybody can reach with the traffic, or you have to serve alcohol. So, 40 people turning up for a IT event on that is quite a good program. Thank you so much. I hope this is useful. Quick note about what we do at Hogarth, and you'll see a lot of examples of that. Hogarth is probably one of the least known WPP companies. we're a content company. And our biggest client is Apple. Almost everything you've seen from Apple probably comes from Hogarth piece of work. We work with Coke. Most of the things you've seen from Coke probably content producer Hogarth. And Mondelez relationship we started this year and Unilever. Those are our top 4 clients. So we see a lot of examples from there. This topic is very, very close to my heart because I spent the first 10 years of my life in analytics and consulting, and I had no idea what advertising was. In fact, then I joined Nielsen when I came back to India, and I think Bala was one of my earliest clients, almost 14 years back. At that time, I remember, I used to ask my friends, and I just said, okay, what is this animal called a digital agency? What do they do? And all of that. So from then on, most of what I've done has been at the confluence of creativity and tech and data. So the topic is very close to my heart. So I'll just spend the next probably, we have about 7 p.m. Let's spend about 30-40 minutes, and then we can keep this very interactive. Otherwise, it gets fairly boring. So feel free to stop me at any point in time if you have any questions. That's probably a better way of doing this than a one-way presentation. And the way awards like Cannes are going, in the last couple of years, we can talk about it. This is a quote I picked up recently. One of the workshops we were doing with OEB. I think this is pretty much. Can you see the screen? I'll read it for you. I think this used to be, advertising and communication, right? The product creates the experience. Then the experience creates the reputation. And the reputation then creates the brand. Right? I think this used to be the case, you take a Mercedes or any of those, which is known, for its engine, known for its ride quality. That is the experience. Right? And then the experience creates a reputation of work, the star, all that. And then, that reputation then becomes a brand over the years. This is true in luxury, this is true in FMCG and all that. I think that has changed significantly in the last few years. So very different. I think today, and I would love to hear your points of view on this, I think we move to a stage where the product and the audience and the occasion together create the experience. And this experience creates the reputation, and the reputation keeps creating the brand. And I think this keeps creating very important because I think what a brand stands for today is a very, very fluid thing. It keeps evolving, it keeps moving on. And a lot of the examples, you take, for example, a brand, and many of you know, I thought somebody was on Myntra when we were having coffee. You take a brand like Myntra, it is the product, it is the audience and the occasions, that Myntra creates, which probably creates the brand. Right? And this is a loop. If you take any new brand of today, this will probably be the case. You take a brand like Coke. It's probably true in Coke's case and anything else. It has moved on from the product creating the experience to the occasions and the audience creating the experience together. Later on, we will see some examples of how Coke works with its audience to create content. So I want to start with, you see a lot of case studies because I'm very excited about actual work with everything, and there's a lot of international and Indian cases, mostly Indian. But I want to start with something that won many, many awards recently. I'll play the video and then we can talk about it.
So I started the unthinkable task of actually trying to get ads to target me. Free phone please. Now this is what we need to take going crazy.
Fans are hiding free phones in YouTube ads.
The idea is, as I understand it, you're basically trying to engineer the algorithm into showing to you.
Google the right keywords to get this ad to target you.
Galaxy Z Flip.
These are called battery life away.
Mine doesn't do it, it doesn't do it.
The most interesting part of the design is the folding screen.
Oh, 0 to 50% in red for minutes.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught it, but the one-liner of this is that instead of you creating an ad and then adding all the meta words, the keywords, so that people discover that, this is sort of the opposite of that. You're sort of gaming the algorithm. You're sort of creating so much content that whatever you search for in the category, it sort of reaches that, and then you discover the content. That way, what you will discover is very different from what you will discover or what she will discover. Right? I thought this is a great example of how this kind of marketing is now, you can only plan it actually only 30-40%. Right? After that, you have to be ready for whatever comes your way. Right? You have to sort of make decisions on the fly and all that. Right? So this I thought was an interesting example of how things are changing. If you were to ask you, what are some of the brand communication that have impressed you, that made you sit up like, oh wow, I like this. And anything that has impressed you lately from a brand as a communication?
Anyone who is not impressed with the best practice.
Which?
Many of them, most of them.
Anything you can recall, a campaign you can recall, or an activation or a piece of content you can recall?
Google search.
Yeah.
Google search.
Okay.
Where the blogger finds us on his friend in Pakistan.
Oh, the Google film. Yes. Yeah. I think Piyush Pandey wrote that, and it was a very interesting case because I don't know if you know what he's talking about. He's talking about a film that Google made, which is about it's a very long film. It's a 7-minute film, and that was pretty much their communication. It was very. I think it came out in 16 or 17. I don't remember. But at that time, people were like, "This is too long. An ad has to be like 30 seconds or 60 seconds. And how can you make a 7-minute film, right, for something like this?" And Piyush was very thinking that the story cannot be told in 60 seconds. It needs 7 minutes. And it really worked. It's probably the best. The fact that we're talking about it 7-8 years after it was made, it's probably the best. How many of you have seen Coke Studio Tamil? It's an interesting, probably not this crowd's cup of tea, but it's a very interesting thing that Coke did this year, or last year, and we produced this for Coke. So all of you would have heard of Coke Studio Pakistan and then Coke Studio India, etc. As you all know, South, especially TN, is a very difficult market for Coke and Pepsi. So the whole insight was how do you sort of become a part of the culture. And then they said it for the first time ever, I don't think Coke has ever done this in India. For the first time ever, we did Coke Studio in a regional language. And of course it had to be Tamil. And some of the artists, if you haven't, you should check it out. Some great music was created for this property. And it really worked. It worked very, very well for Coke. And it sort of warmed it. Not Anirudh. Ario was the first one, and then there was an eclectic bunch. We had a Opari singer also do a song. We had Sanjay Subramaniam do a song. Yeah, not Anirudh. Yeah, not Anirudh. In fact, these are two coming. G.V. Prakash Kumar is a part of that. And then a few others are part of that. So, Khatija Rahman, with a very, very beautiful song. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting way in which marketing is evolving, especially in this part of the world. I don't know how many of you have seen this campaign. It's probably a little too early in the day for me to play this, but have you seen the Create Real Magic campaign from Coke? Coke did something very interesting this year with AI. I'll play it for you and then we'll talk about it. Any AI enthusiasts in the audience? You have to play around with artificial intelligence. How many of you have heard of generative AI as a term? Yeah, good percentage of you. And so for the rest of you, generative AI is basically, see, previously, if you have to create an image, right, you had to go to Photoshop and then you would create an image. You probably start with a photograph and then sort of touch it up on Adobe. So what generative AI does is, if you can just give the engine, and there are many platforms like that. There's a platform called DALI, we sort of started it up, and then there are others like Stable Diffusion and Midjourney, etc. And I strongly, recommend you play around with this. It's a tinkering sort of thing. So if you put a thing saying like, I want to see an image of someone drinking Coke in space, then that engine will give you an image for visual. That's why we call it generative AI. So this is made possible by engines like ChatGPT and others that has been built by this company called OpenAI, right? And a few others. So this is happening a lot, and especially what we refer to as Gen Z, which I think means people who were born after 1990. They play around with this a lot. They're very excited about this. This campaign is largely for them. What Coke did was, rather than me creating an ad and then putting it on TV, etc., why don't all of you only create the Coke ad? So all the bottles that you saw, they're all created by different people. Each one gives its own prompts. Someone says, I want to see Coke in the top of Everest. Coke, I'm drinking Coke, by the beach and all this. People are creating these images. So that's a very telling sort of a situation we are in. Right? So a brand like Coke, imagine. A brand like Coke will not even let copywriters take liberties with the brand. If you're working on Coke, you have very strict guidelines into what you can and cannot do. Right? So brand like Coke is opening itself up, saying, I'm not creating that, you're creating that. You're creating my my logo, my bottle, etc. And I'm going to put it on Times Square. Right? I'm going to put it on billboards. Right? So that is the change that I was talking about in the first two slides. I think that's why it's a very interesting passage of time. If you have any questions for me, feel free to just ask me as well. I don't want to heavily jargonize this conversation. So if I'm doing that, please keep me honest. That is probably the biggest problem we have at this point. So there are two parts to this. One is as a base, all of these AI engines use whatever content is there in the public domain of the internet, right? Which is websites and social media accounts and everything. So you can use it for personal purposes, but today a brand cannot use it and put it out there. Right? So there is definitely a problem, like you rightly said, there is a huge problem. This by controlling it slightly. So what Coke did was, when we created this engine for Coke, we were not actually opening up the entire internet to this AI engine. We were opening it up to only stock images. Right? See, the problem with AI is, if I am using an image which is there, and for a commercial purpose, then I have to pay someone. Right? The problem with AI is, if you're doing this without nobody getting paid, then that's a problem. That's a problem, so societal problem, that's a legal problem. So responsible AI is more about restricting what the AI engine can use. So in this case, what Coke did was, it made it available, it made only stock images available. The thing with stock images not like getty images and all of those. Someone is getting paid. Every time an image is used, someone is getting paid. Just like every time you listen to a song on Spotify, someone is getting paid. Right? So it is legit, so it's legal. So that's how you sort of do it currently. But if you have to open it up to the internet, that's certainly, you're absolutely right. There is a lot of legal ramifications if you are a brand.
AI creativity have seen.
Okay, please explain.
Because AI is based on the cumulative past patterns,
Yes.
whereas creativity is out of the box,
Yeah.
beyond it.
I tend to agree with you, but usually there is the other question that people ask. Right? See, you're creating music with the same swaras. Everybody's creating music with the same swaras. Isn't that creativity? This is another question. Putting 2-3 images together, putting 2-3 colors together and creating an image, is that not creativity? Is one argument. I am personally more with you, but that's the other argument. But interesting viewpoint. But will AI change creativity? Yes. Any other views? Yeah. In what way do you think?
More number of permutation combinations.
Sorry, more number?
More number of permutation and combinations
Right.
would come up because
Right.
of using AI. I would like to mention about a book now. A very hot seller book is out in the market. The Coming Wave by Mustafa Sulaiman. He talks about creativity. He is the co-founder of Google DeepMind and Inflection AI, but he has come out with a different product called Personal Intelligence. But still, he talks about creativity at, not at commercial level, but usage level. So AI will change creativity.
Yeah, very interesting perspective. In fact, a lot of what we refer to as artificial intelligence is not actually intelligence. It's more about playing around with combinations and patterns which are new, but like you said, with the existing material. Right? The other part of AI which really has not been scratched yet, which is not really being unearthed yet, is what we refer to as artificial general intelligence. See, currently what we refer to as AI is just a lot of automation, but at a speed at which humans cannot operate. So if I have to go through a document, say 10 documents, I may do it in 5 minutes. If there's 1,000 documents, I might do it like, in 2 hours. But if it is 2 million documents, I might not have the mental capacity to do it myself. Right? What AI does it is because it's automated, it is able to go through all of those documents quickly and make these decisions with the million documents in probably split seconds. 100%. Actually, it already is. But what it is not is artificial general intelligence. Artificial general intelligence is, if I am here in this room, how do I use the data that is available to me and think like a human? Right? So that I don't think we are there yet. A lot of work is happening in artificial general intelligence. You should listen to Sam or people talk about that. But to me, I think yes, it might definitely impact creativity, but what it will definitely do is revolutionize creative operations. Right? And like my friend just said, if today you're running a company with designers and visualizers and art folks who are probably doing a lot of adaptation or digital creative work, I think you should be planning for a reality where it is different. Right? It may not happen immediately, but you should be worried and very concerned about what is happening in the world of generative AI. Because the creative operations is what it will revolutionize almost immediately. I'll give you an example. How many of you here are familiar with post-production and film? Yeah. So there used to be this skill called rotoscopy. So rotoscopy, it was happened after digital filmmaking. And rotoscopy now, let's say you shot something, and let's say the hero has some skin blemish, and like all heroes, need to be this thing. Let's say you want to take the blemish out. It could be a blemish on someone's face, it could be an aberration in the frame or whatever. You have to take it out. Right? That's a specialized skill. So a lot of people in the last 15, 20 years have made a career out of becoming rotoscopic specialists. Right? Now, this company called Runway, and Runway is one of the platforms that you might have all heard of. It's called Stable Diffusion. It's actually created by Runway. How many of you have seen this film, Everything Everywhere All at Once? It's won the Oscar last year. All the special effects in that film was done by Runway, using the Runway engine. Now what Runway has done is create a platform where you can do rotoscopy in seconds, at best minutes. Right? Otherwise, rotoscopy will have, in post-production, it will take about a week or 10 days or so. So now we can do this in a few seconds. So people who have specialized themselves to becoming rotoscopic specialists, they now have to reinvent themselves. Right? So that's what I mean. It might or might not change creativity. I think the jury is still out there. It will certainly revolutionize creative operations. Yeah. I'm going to play a video and then talk to you about it. All the images you just saw right in the beginning, none of them have ever been shot on photographs. There is no product shoot for anything. Okay. They're all created by generative AI. And it's made possible by this technology called creating a digital twin. Now, what is a digital twin? Let's take the example, let's say this distillery bottle is an SKU. An SKU basically is a certain dimension of a product you're selling. So the sale says this 5 ml SKU. So you take an image of this, an existing image of this, and then you create a digital twin of this. Then you never have to do or shoot this product in any light anywhere. You don't have to. So what AI will be able to do is to place this in any situation, in any lighting, in any background, in any form. It can be in a TVC, it can be in a it also. I can light it in whichever way I want because I'm not actually lighting it. I know the three-dimension view of the product, and I'm likely using machine learning. So what you see is a series of images which have all been created like this. This is the 3D creating the digital twin of it. So we want a Parisian background, I can build that. Previously, you do a photo shoot. You actually probably go to a location and do a photo shoot in Paris or in Rome or something. More recently, you probably do a tabletop photo shoot on green screen and then do that. Now you don't even have to do that. So that's where this is going. And you'll see that all of these images that you see, the product which is in different settings and all of that, they're all created by artificial intelligence. Right? And it is not just in static images. We can also use it for video. For example, this is what you see on the left. Is a film shoot for a beauty brand that we done recently, and this did not involve any primary production. Like the entire thing did not involve any production. We had an image of a model, but the spacesuit, the image in the spacesuit, the spaceship actually coming down, all of that is AI generated. And it is not just in video. I'm going to play 2 pieces of audio. This is the first one.
Nuovo Sunsilk con biotina, proteine e olio. Formula innovativa per capelli vivi, morbidi e splendenti.
So the second one, the first one that you saw was actually recorded in the studio with the voiceover artist. The second one was not recorded in the studio at all. It was in Spanish. And it was just AI generated. The voice doesn't exist. There's no person who has that voice. It's the voice of a machine. So today we can create one TV commercial, and then you can pretty much dub this in any language across the world without necessarily having to go to a studio. Right? You can do this entire thing from within your office. So that to me is what I mean when I said AI might not change, it will certainly change all sorts of creative operations. And I think to me what this should not create is a sense of fear, but a sense of excitement. Right? What else can we do with this? How can we adapt ourselves? What new things we can create? Of course, right? A lot of us are at this point thinking of that. Yeah. Any questions? Does it make sense? Yeah.
Reduce the cost of ad production.
Drastically.
Being passed on to the advertiser.
Yeah. Yeah, it will.
The way that saying is very expensive.
It is expensive, but the kind of scale you're looking at, right? What I just told you, right? Today, if I can create one TVC and dub it all around the world, without ever having to go to a studio, that's a huge cost saving. Not only the cost saving, it's also a very sustainable way of, there's a huge sustainability angle here also. Otherwise, imagine the amount of people who have to travel to post-production, this, that, carbon footprint will be creating. Of course, you sort of avoid that also. But to answer your question, at a certain scale, it will certainly become quite cheaper. It's a very interesting question because a lot of people in our team who are working with AI, I find that some people are able to use it better than others. And when I say use it, what I mean is there is something called prompt engineering, right? Now today if you go and type, Coke space, right? It might not give you the same image that you saw. You might actually have to put a series of strings, fine tune it. It's almost like driving a car, right? You're sort of playing around with it. It is a skill. Prompt engineering is a skill. And it is my personal belief that, say, in 5 years from now, some of the best copywriters might not actually be, rather some of the best art people, might not really be people who might be able to draw well or to paint well or to do storyboards well, but they might be able to they must be the best in prompt engineering, right? So that then becomes your pen, that becomes your brush, right? So your skill is in how can I wield this to create, right? So that becomes interesting. So I feel the next NCD of a major, creative agency might probably be a person who does prompt engineering really well. Yeah, it is already a skill that a lot of people are sort of teaching and learning as well. Yeah. So.
It will help the future generation, because even if the computer came into all these questions very, very easy.
Yes.
Computer came to even banks opposed.
Absolutely.
Everyone opposed.
When calculators came, a lot of people opposed it. Yes.
When came, simple people opposed.
Yeah.
So recently, I interacted with Mr. O.P. Kalai. He is a chief business strategist in Google. You can Google it and see his name. So you are in no way lesser to. You are also getting the same way feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think this is a cycle. We've all gone through it. I think I was recently listening to an interview with the founder of Myntra, where they were talking about when they started out. See, at least Flipkart had a comparison, right? Flipkart was selling books, like Amazon was selling books, so there's a precedent. Myntra was selling clothes. So people were like, who will buy clothes online? Like, why are you even doing this sort of a business, right? But then, the cycle sort of repeats itself. And you're right, when the calculator was launched, there was a protest.
Now actually, OTT and all platforms are helping the cinema making.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, some of my relatives were working in banks, and I actually have this picture where there is a protest of bank employees saying, we won't let computers enter our office. Right? This is not very old. I'm talking about late 80s, 90s. They went on strike. Yeah, yeah.
We don't want computers in that. We don't get the opportunity. Employment will come down.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Any other questions, thoughts? Yeah.
ChatGPT, we need to make it content writers jobless.
I don't think so. I think creators, in a way, that's what we're also talking about, right? I think creators will find a different brush, a different way to sort of do this. People used to, art directors actually used paper and pen for the longest time, right? Even as late as the early 2000s. Not all agencies were actually computerized. A lot of people used sort of paper and pen to draw the layout and all of that, right? Now, it's not like they died away. That community then became the digital visualizers and digital design folks, right? So they evolved. So I feel copywriters will find their own brush, which might probably involve an AI engine. But yeah.
You're just reducing the time they need. Because first they were writing the content in 2 hours, now they can write in 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
That is the fix. But
Absolutely.
you need someone to cross-check. You cannot rely on that to.
Absolutely. In fact, what you said is true for a lot of PhD theses also. What people used to take years, people are using now ChatGPT and probably doing it in a few months. Yeah, yeah. How many of you use ChatGPT for a daily thing, like regularly, right? Like, how many of you like sort of moved away from Google to sort of an AI sort of a thing, right? Yeah, yeah. I think I have as well.
What exactly is
It's prompt engineering. See, when you go on ChatGPT, you have to ask the question in a right way to get the right answer. Okay. So if I ask a question like I'm asking you, in the blue shoe then it might or might not give me the right answer. So I have to channel the prompt in the right way, saying, blue shoe, like this, reference this, minus this, I don't want that, so on and so forth. I'll give you an example. This is not exactly prompt engineering, but we use this for social listening. How many of you are familiar with social listening? Yeah, most of you. Social listening is basically, there are a lot of content, a lot of textual content on the internet, right? How do you understand what people are saying? And how do I understand today what people are saying about Nike or Coke or Rajnikant, right? I have to analyze all the conversations and then make some analysis out of it. This is called as natural language processing. I'm giving you an example. This is not an AI example, but simpler to explain. If I want to have all information regarding Coke, okay, I will have to use something called as Boolean operators. How many of you are familiar with Boolean operators? And, or, not. Algebra in school. So basically, if you want Coca-Cola, you have to say Coca and Cola. Right? So then it'll tell you all conversations that had Coca-Cola. But then we also refer to it as Coke. So you have to say Coca and Cola or Coke. Right? So there is and or. Now, but Coke is also a short form for something else. So you have to say Coca and Cola or Coke, not cocaine. Right? So this is prompt engineering. So with AI engines, it is something like that. Yeah.
So if I have to start with AI generated images, I'm a new guy. In which engine should I start with? What is the first thing which is easy for me, a talent like me, to go and try it?
I think both DALI and Stable Diffusion are very exciting. But the one that's aesthetically great is Midjourney. But if you're a brand, then that is also the least safe place. Midjourney doesn't indemnify you if you're a brand, right? No. If you're as an individual, you probably would want to use Midjourney more. But if you're a brand, you might want to use it less. Because, see, brands have more legal bindings than you do as an individual. You can create something and consume something, the law is not going to come against you. But if brand...
If you're saying, who's the law? Okay, I create something with Midjourney and I post it on social media.
Yeah.
Who am I liable to? Who's the legal person who will come and question me?
Either the person who is in the image or the person who created that image.
Okay, what if, let's say, there's no person? Let's say there's Coke bottle and someone in the space, there's no person, some very imaginative stuff, like say, some fantasy stuff.
Right.
So, how am I liable to someone who will want to question me?
See, it is very few things that you can create which you can't be sure it will not use any of the copyrighted stuff, right? For example, if you were to say that I want Chennai skyline, but think Van Gogh Starry Nights type, but Van Gogh has some kind of a copyright. Someone is managing that, right? If someone were to say, I want a model who looks like Shah Rukh Khan, but also a bit like Tom Cruise, create something which is in between these two. Then tomorrow Shah Rukh Khan and Tom Cruise can potentially sue. There is a window for that. Right? So that's what I mean.
So if I use, let's say, I use architecture or buildings and all stuff, like say some, not even a person, some photo which I created in a, let's say, Colosseum or some.
Right.
Am I legally where?
No, you're not. You're okay. The work that we do, we work with Stable Diffusion, we work with DALI. There is a platform called Bria.ai which we use to change backgrounds. So these are platforms which are very happy to work with brands. Right? They want to have a business that involves brands. So they're able to, make it slightly more ring-fenced, so you're not violating any copyright.
What was the third tool you said?
Bria.ai. Or I think it's BRI.ai is one of those. Yeah. Sorry, you had it.
Yeah. So are we experiencing or witnessing the demands of advertising per se, in sense of experience, what advertising gives, in context of your ad, which I'm seeing here. So advertising all means about photo shoots, outdoors, models. Models is the first take in any of the advertising. So all of us know about Kingfisher ads, the calendars, the photo shoots, locations, the models involved, all the crew involved. So it's all about experience. Ad development is experience. So if these kind of ads are made, with a 360-degree capture, and we lose all the potential experience of an advertisement, or the creation of it, per se, a photographer holding this gadget, his lens in his hand, or a model want to experience in new locales. So are we, witnessing kind of a very, gradual phase out of advertising, which is the crux of, brand building?
See, I think that kind, when you say advertising, you're referring largely to the television commercial, right?
It could be any format. See, as you also showed an photo shoot of a product. Product shoot is also in part of an advertisement. So this product shoot involves advertisement. So there is a photographer who actually wants to wants particular lighting. He'll have a crew who's an expert in having a proper lighting, environs, and lot of aspects are there. So that is the essence of advertising. So if generative AI is going to knock off all the opportunities or the experience per se, I'm not worried about the job or people trying to own up their skills. But the experience, the base of it, I think, are we seeing an gradual demise of it?
I'll put it this way, right? When it comes to Gen AI, I think we are overestimating its impact in the short term, and we are hugely underestimating its impact in the long term, right? I don't think anyone's going to lose a job in the next year or so, or 2 years, maybe even 3 years. Right? But we are, so in that sense, that fear is advertising changing. All of them are probably overestimating it in the short term. Advertising is going nowhere. Come April, everybody will be back to TVC with IPL, right? We'll all be watching this on Hotstar. It's not going anywhere. But in the long term, we are hugely underestimating it. Because we don't even know how this tech will evolve in 5 years from now, 6 years from now, what all it will change. Right? So that's my answer to it. I think,
That's not the point actually. See, being in front of a green screen or a blue screen is not the thrill, right? So my point is like any model or a product or anything happening in a in a virtual space it's not going to give you any real feel of the brand. The brand ownership will be lost.
So this is what exactly people said when esports was launched. Like who wants to play football on a TV screen? Only about 400 million people. So the thrill is a very subjective thing. What used to be thrill, when I was, I'm a 90s kid, I always wanted to make film, right, cinema, which will release on a Friday, blah, blah, blah. But that is not the thing anymore. Nobody wants to make film. Everyone wants to make a Netflix series, right? So I think that's a constantly changing goalpost. But to a large extent, this kind of thing you're talking about, where there is a model, there is a shoot, there is a camera, there is 2 days of lunch and coffee and all of that, and then someone saying rap, that is probably coming to some sort of an end. Not immediately.
We may have to gradually accept it.
Yes.
That situation. We have mother board, we can't stop it. We can't stop it.
Absolutely. Yes. Great. This has been a fantastic discussion. Loved it. I want to move to another part of it, which is How many of you have seen this Shah Rukh Khan Cadbury's campaign? You just raise your hand if you've already seen it. Okay. So good 80% of you have not seen it. So hence I'm playing it. Otherwise I'm terribly bored of this. We worked on this 2 years back, and if I see it 10 more times, I'll probably kill myself. But I'm going to play it since most of you have not seen it.
अरे कहाँ हो?
हाँ आ रहा हूँ। हीरो लग रहा हूँ। इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाले फैशन ऑफ एम्पोरियम से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना, और फिर एम्पायर फुटवेयर, नाम तो सुना होगा ना, जूते वहीं से लेना ताकि वो भी खुशी से नाच उठे।
चलो मेहमान आ गए।
क्या लग रही हो मासी? अपना स्टाइलिश चश्मा बगल वाले हेवन आई ऑपरेशन से ही लेना, और सिद्धिविनायक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से लेटेस्ट स्मार्टफोन खरीदकर धमाकेदार सेल्फी पोस्ट करना।
क्या कर रहे हो? मीठा लाए कि नहीं?
लाया हो ना यार, अपने पास वाले रोशन किराना से। आप भी अपना मीठा वहीं से लेना ताकि आपके साथ उनकी दिवाली भी मीठी हो जाए। हमारे आसपास की जो दुकानें हैं, उनकी दिवाली भी तो मीठी होनी चाहिए ना।
But it is done by WPP. There are two agencies involved. One is Ogilvy, which is responsible for the idea, and the other agency is Wavemaker, which is responsible for the tech. Yeah, I used to be part of Wavemaker. So it's a very interesting thing, right? It started off with a question that someone asked in a meeting, which is, what is the... So Mondelez, which is the company that owns Cadbury's, it was very clear that it wanted to do something that helped all the department stores, the small and the medium size department stores. And we had actually done a Diwali ad the previous year with the same intent, and that worked really, really well. So this year we wanted to up the ante. So you say, what can we do? And someone randomly said in the meeting that, you know what a Kirana guy wants? He wants Shah Rukh Khan to endorse his store, but that's not going to happen. Right? So something like, he meant it in a very different context. And then that line sort of stuck in that meeting, saying, okay, what if we were to make it possible for him to have Shah Rukh Khan as a brand ambassador for his store? Now, how do we go about doing that, right? That was the origin of it. And then, of course, a lot of things happened. And then, we looked for a technology that can make this happen. And there was this technology already existing. And it was very notorious for various reasons. And that technology is called deep fake. Right? So deep fake is, if Bala says something, and if I record that video, I can then change it to something else and make it look like Bala said something else. Right? I can make Bala say that advertising is great, and then I can change it to say advertising is dead. Right? So it is possible to do through deepfake, and this was happening a lot in politics, especially in the US, as late as the 2017 sort of elections. So we used that tech. There was a company which did that, and then we sort of shot with Shah Rukh Khan for over 2-3 hours, understanding his lip movements, his face movements, etc., so that we can change it for different areas. And then we had to create the database of all department stores by name, which actually didn't exist if you think about it. There is no one single, Nielsen Retail has some level of this information, but this information doesn't really exist. So some part of it also had to be created. And then it had to be fed into an engine, so that if you're sitting in Mylapore and watching this ad, then it should talk about the stores in and around Mylapore. If you're sitting in Ghaziabad and watching this ad should talk about the footwear store and the spectacle store in and around Ghaziabad.
So the film plays different versions in different areas?
Yes.
So that's the tech?
That's the tech, yeah. Sorry, I should have mentioned that first. Yeah. So the resultant was this film, and so basically,
What is the audio? You change the audio?
what he says as the shop's name will change. So if you saw this from say Ashok Nagar, and it is based on pin code, you saw this in Ashok Nagar, it would look like Shah Rukh Khan is talking about the spectacle store in Ashok Nagar.
How was the tech? But the original film, how will it be shot? Will it be shot with your effects?
Yes, it'll be shot with anything. It can be shot with anything. But what happens is when you launch this ad, you know, sitting in Ashok Nagar, then I will know what ad to serve you.
No, I'm just saying if it comes on TV also, it will work or on the social?
It's only digital. It can work only on digital. Yeah, it can't work on TV. Yeah.
Only digital?
Only on digital. I'll need to know where you're watching it from. So I will take that coordinates from your phone, and then I'll customize that ad for that particular location.
So if I see this content in Royal Vicar, it says something. If I go to Delhi, it will say something.
Something else. Yeah. Right. So that is the idea, which is also why it won practically every single award there is to be there, including the Cannes, of course. And this is one of the applications of AIs. You know, if you really think about it, in this ad there is no creativity. You know, Piyush Pandey or someone like an Alec Padamsee didn't really write, or a Balki didn't write this ad. This ad is any of us could have written this ad. Right? The hero of this is the tech. Right? So, which is why I feel that we are going through a phase where the hero of the next great idea will not necessarily be copy and humor and something else. It might actually involve a big part of tech. The confluence of tech and creativity will probably, you know, be the best known ads that we'll remember from here on. Yeah.
How many kiranas stores used it finally? Local stores?
It became a huge thing. So which is why then we created this link where you can create your own stuff if you want. Yeah. So I think I lost power. After a point, we said we should just let people create whatever they want. And then, you know, we created a website for it, and people created their own sort of versions of it.
Same thing was done by Zomato also, exactly same time.
Okay, and many other people. I think this partner that we worked with is called Rephrase.ai, and the moment we finished doing this with them, they became so popular that they were doing probably at one point in time 2 or 3 ads like this every month. Right. And I've been in meetings where people have told me, I want something like what you did for Shah Rukh Khan, what you did for Cadbury's. Right? So, yeah, it became sort of a trendsetter. Is the name of the company. Rephrase.ai is the name of the company. Yeah. Sorry, I think I need help with this. Let's probably try and do this for about 10 more minutes on that. I was just, you know, going to share with you some other things that are changing, you know, besides just AI. I think we spend way too much time on AI. I think one thing that is happening is we are moving on from what is, you know, see, you must be familiar with SECA and then NCCS, A, B, and all of that. This is different classification of the consumer. Largely, these are decisions based on economic, progress of that particular household. That's how it is determined. We've gone now way beyond that in terms of the data available to someone and how we are planning. Okay. So today, most of you would be familiar with the term FPD, which is first-party data. Right? So I know what you're consuming. You know, today, if I'm a media agency which is planning a campaign, I probably roughly have around 4,000 data points on an individual to target an ad for. Right? And no need to worry, none of this includes your email ID, phone number, or name or anything. I know anything, I don't know who you are. But I know that this is what you watch, I know this is who you follow, and hence I feel this is what I can target to. Right? So today a lot of the planning that we do is moved on from customer classification to culture classification. Right? A good example of this, which didn't involve any data, because you didn't have to. Some of you have seen the Stranger Things video we had done with Raja sir. Only a few of you. Okay, cool. Yeah. So you might want to go and Google it. So basically, the Netflix, was a client, and one of the things they wanted to do was popularize the Telugu and the Tamil versions of Stranger Things. Okay. Stranger Things, if you haven't seen it, is the most watched Netflix show ever, globally. Like, nobody has seen anything more than they've seen. Rather, it is the most watched show. And when we were promoting that in the latest season in Telugu and Tamil, we needed someone who can resonate, with that. And we also needed someone.
The Stranger Things is the one by David Finch. Is that the same?
No. Yeah. So Stranger Things, I don't remember the creator, but this is the 5 kids, who are roaming around in a forest, and then they hit an old science lab, which is now a portal to a different world and all of that. So then we created a jingle, and Radha sir was very excited. He was very amused rather. He was not even excited. He was very amused to sort of hear the story, and we used him to sort of create that piece of content. Right? And that really worked because we were talking about people who have some sort of a nostalgia towards the 80s and the 90s because the story is set in the 80s. And who better, to resonate to that crowd than Radha sir, right? So this is a decision which is largely done not basis economic classification, but on culture classification, right? More and more you will see a lot of changes happening there. You see Coke Studio there. Before we did Coke Studio Tamil, we had done a song with Allu Arjun. And I don't know how many of you have seen it. It was in Telugu. And the interesting thing is, the starting point to that song we did with Allu Arjun actually has a data point. And we realized Gen Z, if I were to ask you, what is the music genre that is fastest growing among Gen Z? What do you say? K-pop. Right? So we then wanted to leverage that. So we brought in a K-pop, which is short for Korean pop, if you're not familiar. And we brought in a Korean pop band and asked them to sort of play with, or rather shoot with Allu Arjun. And so all of these decisions are being made basis data, basis different cultures and subcultures. So that is one thing that is changing. The other thing that is changing is, the economics of influencer marketing. Right? It's a very interesting thing that we noticed. One of the brands we work with is L'Oreal Paris. And, we shot a particular piece of video with Aditi Rao Hydari. And today when a brand posts that video, it probably gets about 200, 300 likes at best, right? And part of the problem is, none of these platforms have a great organic reach. There might be 1 million people following you as a brand, but it's not like all of them are going to watch the content or the post you're putting up. That, becomes a function of many different variables, right? But today when a social media influencer puts up the same social media influencer, same actor in this case, puts up that content, then in the first hour, you find that there are over 100,000, 200,000 people who have engaged with that content. Right? So in a way, a brand's social assets almost are as good as dead. Right? Unless you're going to pump a lot of money into promoting that content, right? Or you're going to get people to sort of share that content. That by itself will not travel much. I think the age where it used to travel a lot, right? Between 2011 and 2016 or 17, you will have at least 50-60% of an organic reach at some point. And then it came down drastically. Today there isn't much. So if you're a brand, and if you're only deciding on, okay, I'm going to post something, and then my followers are going to magically grow, or engagement is going to magically happen, that's not going to happen. So that's the reality of what we live in.
So what is the way to promote that, sir? If I don't have a brand ambassador and just a small brand,
right?
So organic doesn't work. So paid promotions work.
It will have to be paid at a certain level. So there are a lot of other things. It also depends on what you're creating. It depends on how often you're creating, how regular you're creating content. If you're on Instagram, it depends on whether you're creating reels or not. But certainly if you just say that, okay, I'm going to post and then people are going to come on their own, that is not going to happen. And that also brings me to the world of influencers, or what we call as the creator economy. Right? And see, 10 years back, there used to be just influencers, right? I will follow this person called Ramesh Srivats on Twitter because he was funny. Right? I'll follow Gabbar Singh on Twitter because he was funny. You know, I'll follow someone else because he or she is an actor. I'll follow Karthik Kumar because he's an actor. I know him, and he's funny on Twitter, right? So, but that has moved. You know, today these creators also represent a subculture, right? For example, do you recognize anybody here? Arivu, right? Arivu is not just a musician, right? Arivu represents the Dalit art movement, right? Anybody knows the guy above him?
The one who made the song.
Yeah.
BB song.
Yeah, the guy called Yashraj Mukhate.
Yeah.
And what Yashraj Mukhate does is he will take a dialogue on a TV serial and then he will make a song around it, right? So he made, you know, these dialogues, these normal exchanges between two people. You would have seen the recent one where someone said, such a wow, you know, that sort of memes. So he'll make that into music, right? Now he stands for not just a musician, he stands for the music meme community. He's the poster boy of the music meme community, right? You take the girl on the right, sorry? Lavanya Mohan, right? Lavanya Mohan. She's not just she used to be an influencer on Twitter, but today she represents personal finance as a subculture, right? Especially personal finance for women as a subculture, right? So that's what you will leverage, you know, today if you're a brand. I'm going to skip some of this in the interest of time, and probably end with this, right? It's also, we spoke about culture. It's also not spray and, you know, pray sort of a culture. It is also very clinically done, right? If you take Thumbs Up's tagline, I'm sure all of you used to remember, was Taste the Thunder, and then it became Tufani, right? Now, what is Thumbs Up chasing today, right? Thumbs Up is not chasing just Tufani. Thumbs Up is actually chasing biryani, right? Because of a data point. The data point is that a lot of people who consume Thumbs Up, who are the Thumbs Up audience, also order biryani. Biryani is a huge subculture, right? The biryani culture in different cities is very different. The biryani culture in Hyderabad is very different from the biryani culture in Manembadi, Ambur, Chennai, which is very different from the Mughlai biryani in Delhi, right? Very, very different from the Arslan biryani in Kolkata, right? So Thumbs Up has realized that the biryani audience is the Thumbs Up audience. And there is a strong association between both these user behaviors. People who order biryani and people who drink Thumbs Up along with the meal, right? So a lot of the activations for Thumbs Up, if you really see, is basis biryani consumption. So that's how we activate it on, say, a Zomato or a Swiggy or on other platforms. Yeah. And yeah, I think I'll sort of end there. I think we've spoken a lot. So 5-6 years back, we were also talking social first, right? Social first means, you know, if you're starting a campaign, first make sure you're saying that on YouTube or Instagram or Twitter, right? We used to advise brands that think social first, think collaboration between people and all of that. That narrative has completely changed today to owned platform first, right? Why is that? Any guesses why you would want to recommend that a brand create a destination, a website or an app today more than just put on social?
E-platforming is
so that we can control SEO.
It's one part of it. The other part of it is FPD, which is first party data, right? So because as a brand I realized that I'm spending millions and I'm not getting enough from Facebook and social. I'm not getting enough data about my users on Facebook and social, right? Because they keep changing their algorithms. So, and pretty much browsers are out, right? Very few of us use browsers anymore on phones. So there's no way of me collecting cookie data, right? So that is gone. So the only thing that remains then in the marketer's hand is first party data. And that I can collect only by creating my own platforms where I control the data end to end, right? So many people, some of you would have heard of this platform called Be Beautiful. Be Beautiful is a platform created by Unilever, where you will find a lot of beauty content. You will find, for example, I want to go to a party, how do I dress up? How do I, I have dry skin, how do I use a moisturizer? All of this DIY content you will find in Be Beautiful. The reason Be Beautiful was created was not just to create a repository for this content, but if I create this content, then users will come and search, and then I will understand my user better, right? So that will give me more data on what they like, what they don't like, what are their behaviors, when are they choosing a product, so on and so forth. So
we can't get this data from the social media, Facebook, Instagram. We won't be able to access it.
You won't have it with you. So what happens is, Facebook says that I will give you this data the next time you're advertising with me. Okay, so if I'm not advertising with you, can you just send this data to me? They won't send it. Right? So then that becomes the challenge with social platform, which is why you see this big shift. It's not like they're not advertising on social anymore. That is also still happening. But we now realize that it is important as a brand. If you're spending millions, it's important for you to hold on to the data. Yeah. So I'll end with this one other case study. The rest of it is a lot of chest beating, but the idea is that, it's very simple inside, right? Like Gen Z is really puck out and they want to entertain themselves. And what better than to scan, a bottle and then get a joke, from a comedian. And it is also sort of then, as you will see, customized to different regions, right? So if you do it from Chennai, then you'll probably have a Tamil joke appearing for you, right? And you would have seen the word 1PD that basically relates to first party data. So this essentially is a data building initiative, right? So then we understood who's engaging with Sprite, what can we know about their behaviors, what else do they like, so on and so forth. So yeah, so that is why I feel, yeah.
I have a question, just out of curiosity, how much information can you get out of this simply scanning a QR code? If I scan the bottle, so how much first party data can you get from that? Just to target better?
So it's WhatsApp for business. Right? If you scan the QR code, it takes you to a WhatsApp handle. Right? And then you're listening to the joke there. So what I do know is I have the device ID of your phone. Now, then I get your behavior data, for example, in some of the social apps. So I get what you follow on Instagram, what you will follow on Twitter. So I get some kind of understanding on what is the kind of content you consume. So next time when I'm doing something on Instagram or on Google, for that matter, I will target you with those relevant ads. Yeah, so
how much of these changes that you've seen on your presentations, how much of it is going to structural presence? Since I have done digital campaigns in Facebook or Twitter 5-6 years ago using tags, prompts, everything.
yeah.
Not prompts, but tags. Those things now look very amateurish if I do for any jewelry brand and everything.
Yeah.
So just asking you, how much of these changes are going to be structural, or do you feel anything will be a fad like this headache action, QR?
No, I think this is the result of a fad. The fad used to be, you remember, so now you have actual data, you're connecting with real people. Yes, tomorrow the algorithms might change, the apps might change. There might be a new social media app with a very different algorithm. But I think you're fairly okay collecting first party data. In fact, this happened only because everything else became a fad. Yeah, cool. I obviously planned for a much longer narrative, but I've taken a lot of your time than I intended. Thank you so much for being a fantastic audience.
Thank you so much, Karthik. It was a lovely session. Please give him one round of applause as well. I think with the sheer number of questions, it was clear that it was well received. I'd like to invite Anbu, who's the past president of the Advertising Club of Madras, to give the vote of thanks.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, everybody. I think soon advertising agencies should change the nomenclature and call themselves artificial intelligent agencies. I think that's the way it's going to be. Thank you so much for the session. It was almost like a masterclass in artificial intelligence. I'm sure that we are going to see a lot of spike in searching for mid-journey, ChatGPT today after your talk. So thank you for taking time out and being with us. I'd like to thank the advertising team executive committee for putting up all the hard work and making this session happen. And thank you all for beating the traffic and coming here and spending a lovely session. Great meeting you. And there's a lot more coming up from Ad Club Madras. So please watch out. And if somebody has not renewed their membership or not taken membership, please do take in their memberships. And of course, we'll come in March. The big ticket event Maddie's is on its way. So just wait for an announcement from the Secretariat. Thank you so much and good night. Thank you.
Committee and Karthik, and with all of you and Karthik, if that's okay.